Oh. Can you hear me? Cheryl or Mary or Courtney?
Peter?
Yes, no? Peter, do you see me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. This is Mary.
Okay, good.
This is just snap in there. Force it. There we go. All righty. Hi, Oscar. How you doing? Good.
Yeah, he's here. Yeah, good. Speaking of the man.
Hi there. I'm great.
Well, it's 3 o'clock somewhere, including the Penthees. So we're going to go ahead and get started with a roll call. And absentee, but here
It's on the Zoom.
on Zoom.
No, she's on mute, but maybe she can't. Mary, can you hear me?
I can hear you guys pretty well. I can't really hear Jim very well.
Okay. Next, Paula. Thank you. Don Ellwanger, and Jim Shaw,
Here.
Jean Dasher. Thank you.
Jim, you want one of these?
Maybe we can just take this off.
Things are like. Yeah, some bustle now.
We're going to take a look at approving the minutes from August 15. Assuming everybody's had a chance to take a look. Okay, could I have a motion to approve? Okay, Jane first, second by Paula. And now we're going to go to a chair report very briefly. Paula, this is for you. Dawn and Jean, I have material for you. This is for our red resource binder. And it includes the PowerPoint presentations that were made last meeting regarding AB 1572 by Nick from the Carson Companies, as well as an overview of his presentation on mulch and ground covers. So a handy resource. Just a parenthetical note that as a result of his meaning Nick's conversation, here, as well as I'm sure background conversation with board, the board has made a decision to essentially adopt what was Nick's recommendation, that until there is further clarification regarding clarification from the city of Sacramento and its potential impact on Nepenthe HOA, that there will be a deferral on any real activity related to AB 1572. Okay, got that? Great.
Can I ask, what does that mean, a deferral of any activity?
You'll have to ask Mary. I believe it's Mary that's asking the question.
Yes.
Yes, hi, Mary. All I've been advised is they are basically standing down on any proactive activity related to AB 1572. Now, how far that extends towards turf remediation is something that I cannot speak to. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a slowdown in that activity, but that's my own personal opinion. So we'd have to get further clarification from the board.
Thanks, Jim. I think it would be helpful to have further clarification.
I quite agree, Mary.
Hi, Mary, this is Jean. Hi. I think there has been a slowdown in turf for I mean, I don't think they've planted any turf since the knowledge of 1572 has come across. So I think they're just going to continue on with that until the law is passed.
Well, the law is, just clarification, law has passed. There's a standing law there. But the question is practical in terms of implementation. And if we follow Nick's comments and tacit recommendations as he sees and surveys the landscape, given our situation as well as others that Carson services, the recommendation again is to kind of stand back, see how it unfolds, and then maybe visit this again in 6 months and see where we are. So I think that's as tight an answer we can give you, Mary. Please.
Hi, Mary, it's
Okay.
Jean again. So he just gave, Jim just gave us a handout, and I see on here, the new law goes into effect in 2029 for HOAs. So you don't have this in front of you, but it looks like we have until 2029.
Well, it's in effect now. It's enforced in 2029. The law
Well,
passed.
It says new law goes into effect as follows: 2027 for state properties, 2028 for commercial properties, 2029 for HOAs. I'm just reading what it has. And I do believe they're not planting new turf.
Okay,
as
so
it is.
we're
No, my
just gonna,
point, my point was just that if it was going into effect in 2029, it means that we would already have to be all the way down the pike applying the law. And what I hear is that we're going to wait.
that is correct.
Mary, this is Don Ellwanger. My interpretation of what Nick said at the last meeting was it's supposed to be in effect on January 2027 for state properties. Sit back and watch and see how soon the state really engages that, if it's 2027 or not till 2028 or 2029. And that kind of gives us a thumbs up on how quickly it's going to move and if it's even going to be effective January 2029 for HOAs. So we'd have a 2-year jump on it if they engage, as according to what the law says, in January 2027. I was under the impression that he thought that could be very doubtful because you're dealing with a government agency.
Yeah,
Well-
I was there. I heard his presentation in its entirety, and I understand his point. I was just clarifying that what 2029 is when we're supposed to be in full compliance, if they're enforcing it. It's not that all of a sudden we need to get going.
I think that's about as far as we can really take it in refinement, Mary, but Paula has a concluding remark.
Yeah, I don't want to pile on here, but I think that one of the things in the handout that the gentleman from Carson said were options to consider, and some of them were pretty radical for us to start doing now without knowing kind of the framework that we're supposed to be operating under for this bill. And also, I've read the bill, and it has a phrase in there that says that the city, who is the water purveyor, who regulates us, has by 2027 must come up with some sort of a plan. And the gentleman from Carson was very frank about his feelings about whether that's even going to be done in time. But again, there's no reason to do anything radical before then. So
Yes.
I think just stay the course is.
And indeed, that is the policy the board has adopted. My final comment is that our next zone walk is for Zone 3 for Mary, that's yours. And we're scheduled for Tuesday, September 23. Hopefully you'll be able to make that. And we would be thinking probably around 9 o'clock start at a point or designation of your choice. So that's what I have to report.
Since it's my zone
What did I say?
we're talking about, so
Yes.
I don't set up the zone walk.
No, this was set up
By who?
easily 6 months in advance, and it was published as when I distributed the resource binders several months ago.
Okay, all right, well, we can confer on that later. Thank you.
Okay. Is it a Monday, John? Well, the date in question is the 23rd. The,
It's a Tuesday, it's the 24th.
yeah, but the calendar day is 23. Oh, 24, excuse me, my bad. We'll chalk it up to senioritis, but it is September 24. Okay. We are absent a liaison report, so we will move on to an item called bark replenishment, and I'm going to turn it over to Teresa.
This month, when I was thinking about zone walks, I decided to focus on just a small area of zone 1. Because usually I just take my scooter and zoom through and I get just kind of an impression of things without really zoning in on something that could be actionable. So I decided to focus upon the addresses with an Adelphi address, and even more just the garage entrances, because those seemed to be the areas that looked like they hadn't had much attention from us as far as proposals. So the main thing that I saw was that those small areas next to garages first of all, needed a layer of bark. Almost all of those areas have none. It's gone. Yeah, it's just bare ground and exposing irrigation, and so the bark needs to be replenished periodically, and it certainly looks like it's about the time for that to happen, or past the time. Trey, you could, if you find the photos, the 9 photos, you can go. Yeah, so these are some of the areas that I looked at that when I looked at them, I said, yeah, that needs attention. It doesn't look to me that it meets the standards of beauty and that Nepenthe has, and as well as just bark is basic, or some kind of ground cover, so that it's reduces the amount of evaporation of the irrigation that it's getting, and it protects and nourishes the soil underneath, among other things. So these are some of the areas. You can just scroll and you see that pretty much all of the bark is gone in these areas. Some of the areas don't need bark, like that stone. It just needs plants. But this was just a summary, and the next page is a summary of the areas that I was looking at with Adelphi addresses that I think need attention. Now, when I go through zone 1, I see this kind of condition. It's prevalent. And when I was taking walks or I scooter around Nepenthe in general, it's prevalent. And that I thought maybe we need to have just a bark project so I would like to make a motion that we attack that Nepenthe wise. So I think I will make a motion and then we can talk about it, okay? I move that the committee approve bark replenishment throughout Nepenthe in areas identified by zone stewards and Carson.
Jean seconds.
Thank you.
Call for discussion.
I live on Adelphi and I agree that's exactly what it looks like. There's never been bark there. So here's my question. I'm in zone 4 and I walk around there and it's got brand new bark. So my question is there I don't know what the word is, not plan or something where we cycle through every zone? I mean, is there an established process for cycling through the zones for bark replenishment as was just done in zone 4?
So some months ago, we were doing remediation at trees removal sites. And I thought we could have the same sorts of appointments with Oscar, at least Oscar and a zone steward, if not the committee chair, the liaison, the general manager. Definitely somebody to take notes where we survey the whole neighborhood, zone by zone, take notes, get ideas. And
But my
then,
question is there an existing process for cycling through the zones with replenishment? Because if there is, there's no reason for us to kind of step on the toes of that process.
Quite agree, and I think the basic answer is no. And this may well be the start of a community-wide plan. And I know in chats with Jean and with Don and my zone 6, that this is typical of our situations. And so it's really something that's community-wide, quote unquote.
Can I
And
ask a
so-
question? Can you hear me?
Yes, please identify yourself.
Mary Gray?
Okay, thanks, Mary. We can't see you up. Okay.
I know you can't see me. So bark is only one option of a ground cover, and it's an option that continues to require being replaced. Are we considering drought tolerant plantings that do not require the constant replenishment? And then they would create a swath of green in our community.
That is not in the scope of this motion, but we have several options under ground cover that were presented to us during the last meeting that you attended.
That was just
And at
bark.
this
It
point,
wasn't.
this point, we have on the table a motion to recommend to the board that we adopt a community-wide assessment by Carson. And I would think maybe later down the road, there may be some refinement in regards to whether bark or mulch or other things. But at the point right now, the motion on the floor is to approve what has just been stated. I'm
So
gonna-
Jim, you mean areas that maybe, we're thinking of areas that used to have bark and just need replenishment, not new plantings.
I
That's
would-
what we're thinking
yeah,
of right now, right?
That's the
'Cause the one-
intent.
The one area that I'm focused on in zone 5, parts of it have bark and parts don't, but need it, so it looks uneven. So
And that
it's not really something that needs ground cover, but I don't know about Paulus.
No, what we're going to really do is ask Carson to come back with their assessment of what needs or could or should be done related to ground cover and bark.
Okay,
Call for the
so
question?
one more question. So ground cover, the considerations are not just bark, but also plantings. Is that correct?
No, that is not correct. Okay, call for the question. All those in favor of adopting the motion and asking for assistance by Carson to make an assessment community-wide?
Okay, I have one more question. I'm sorry. Okay, is this a broad motion or are we voting on these specific properties?
This would be part of the overall assessment.
And
that would
then
be
later
done.
on, you're going to present these specific properties under item number 9, I believe, right?
I just provided photos just to give people a feel for how it looks.
So, so this is a broader than just zone 1 or these specific properties.
Right.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please give me a hand up. No. Okay, so we have 4. We have an absentee. And Mary, your vote is?
No,
Okay, we have 1 no, 2 no's. I believe the motion passes. Okay. Moving on to Carson report. Oscar.
Hello, hello. Now it's working.
But they're not gonna need it to bark everywhere. They're gonna now go look at the places that might need bark.
Oscar, you're up.
Okay. So right now we have a situation on zone 1. One of the controllers is malfunctioning. We call baseline to tell us and see what's going on with it because it's not communicating with the system. So right now it's on offline. It keeps irrigating, but it's offline. So we contact baseline and they're gonna provide us with the power board circuit that I believe is malfunctioning. It's under guarantee. So they're gonna send that over and as soon as I have it, we will install it to solve that problem.
Sorry, can I ask what zone that's in?
Zone 1.
Zone 1, okay.
Also, with excessive an extended heat wave that we was having late June and July, when we had excessive and extended heat, some of the sensitive plants suffer some heat stress and leaf scorch that damage some of the leaves. In some cases, some plants die. When temperatures get this high, the extended periods of time, the plant cannot transpirate enough water to keep them cool. So many of the plants are alive and they start having new leaves coming up, but other the ones die in the process. So we're gonna see which ones of those ones need to be replaced, and probably when they walk those areas with the stewards, they can see and identify those areas that need to be replacements. On the renovation, we finished zone 4, pink area is done, blue area is complete, and we are starting working on yellow area on zone 4. Also on the siding on zone 2, phase 1 and phase 2, we start also working on those areas and some drains. On September 2024, we had the spray the weeds in the turf and the hardscape on zone 3, 4, 5. And same is spray the turf lawn hardscape on zone 1 and 2. And we have scheduled the insect fungus spray coming up on 9/23 through 9/27 on zone 1 through 7. On October, we want to have the field weed spray that is not scheduled, and the pre-emergent on the beds that is not scheduled yet. As soon as I have those schedules, I will notify Nicole with those days. About watering, right now we have 3 days of water, depending on the area or the zones. It's Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Others are Thursdays, and Saturdays. And we have the battery operated controllers also on Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays. Others Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. All the homeowner request and offer request about reports of irrigation problems, we do those daily. So we accomplish those ones. And on the maintenance, pruning and detail, we finish all the zones and we start cleaning out the dry creeks. And we will start over again next week on all the zones. That's it.
What does that mean, cleaning out the dry creeks, like blowing, or what does it mean, cleaning out the dry creek? So that's a whole thing.
The dry creeks is where all the rock beds are. So all those areas involve a lot of hand picking all those twigs from the redwoods. So
Okay,
that's what we're doing.
So
We're
they're
not
doing it right now?
leaving the
Okay,
depth
cool.
in there, but we just the twigs, we're picking it up.
okay, cool.
Can I ask a question of Oscar? This is Mary Gray. So when you stated you're starting over, what does that mean?
That means that we went and finished every single area on each zone. And we have maps where we start over again, meaning we go back to zone 1, area 1, and start pruning where it needs to be done.
So there isn't, so like mine had just been pruned and then suddenly they were pruning them again 2 weeks later. So
It's not gonna be just like that. It takes weeks to go through one zone. So if you just finish, we're gonna start. So maybe we're gonna be at your area in 3 to 4 weeks.
just 3 to 4 weeks after doing pruning, prune again?
It's not just about pruning, it's about detailing and pruning. That means if any of those shrubs don't require any pruning, we do some detail work around them.
What do you mean by detail work?
What I mean by detail work is any of the leaves, twigs that are inside of them, any weeds, anything that the plant has died back, we're just gonna maintain them, detail and clean.
Okay,
Thank you, Oscar.
All right. We have a formal proposal based on our zone walks with Oscar. And I would ask for a motion to approve the landscape improvements that
I sent them to you as part of the packet.
I believe it's an attachment one. So that's not when we go through the different areas. So like, for example, zone 7, we got a few things on there. We're not going to go through.
those are zone walk notes that may be approved by the committee. Yes, this was from the previous. Yes. Okay. So I would hope to have a motion. Okay, Jane will propose. I will second.
I'll
So-
second it, but I'd like to ask a question as well.
Okay, now we go to discussion. Sure. Paula second.
Okay, I'm looking at, I understand that these are, that this is the financial and implementation of recommendations that we made a few months ago.
Sure.
But one of the items in zone 4 is 1425 Commons. And it was one where, I can't tell you, it's page 8 in the actual handout, but it's not numbered as page 8. So anyway, it's 1425 Commons. And it says office to advise homeowner that landscaping meets current standards. So my question is, how can I determine the status and that the office did contact the homeowner and advise that it was not recommended for approval. Okay, so how do I, because the work order fell off the work order list? Okay, okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, further discussion?
Can I ask a quick question? This really, Paula brought up something interesting. About standards. I've never seen standards. What are these standards?
I'm going to guess that we're in a situation where Carson Industries has contracted with the board and has given them the professional latitude to determine professionally what needs to be done given a site's situation, meaning its immediate environment, sun, shade, water, other things. And that standard is really the professional standard as determined by Carson. There is no, to my understanding, written rule or set of guidelines that are something that we can go to and say yes or no, up or down. This is something that falls under the contract and the professional assessment by Carson.
Jim, can I add to that? I think when these proposals were brought up last month, I think a couple, or maybe one or two of them, we agreed it looks fine the way it is and it meets standards just as a group, because somebody wanted their azaleas or something different. And then we said, well, we think it looks fine the way it is, so we're not going to change it. Because some people, they just want something different and it's already meeting standards. But so I thought last month that we kind of agreed as a group.
And that would have been referred through Nicole's office to communicate with the homeowner that was the decision.
I can't hear who's talking.
Oh, Jim's talking now.
Thank you, Mary. I inadvertently pressed the button. But to speak to Jean's remark, those communications where the committee assessment is it meets current standards, that communication goes back to the homeowner directly through the general manager's office and the file, and that request is closed. Okay.
Yeah, because there are a couple, I'm sorry you don't see this. There are a couple that it says no further action. Maybe they were already taken care of. One of them, it says it was already taken care of. Crepe myrtle, it was already pruned. So I think we went through these as a group, and the ones that did not need anything further done, we kind of agreed to not go ahead and replant them.
So
Or
we
change
have
Yeah.
a-
I just
Just
think
one-
it's kind of a misnomer to say that there are standards because there really aren't. To tell a homeowner that, because there aren't any standards. So you can say you're not getting what you want based on the health of the plants or something, but we don't have standards.
Well, I'm just going to respond back that is a contract matter between the board and Carson Industries. And that's the best answer that we have at this time. So I'm going to call for the vote. We have a first and a second, and I would ask for a vote. Paula, Jim, Jean, Don, Teresa, motion passes.
You didn't ask for my vote?
And no, Mary, please. I was going to ask you for your vote.
Well, the motion already passed. I mean,
Well,
Fine,
that's right,
okay.
because we had the sufficient, but for as a matter of record, are you a no
it
or a
doesn't
yes?
matter. I'm just not, I abstain. It doesn't matter.
Mary,
Can you give me a summary of yays, nays, and abstentions, please?
well, we're going to grant Mary the courtesy of an abstention. The yeas are Paula, Jim, Teresa, Don, and Jean.
And I would vote yes. So I would just appreciate it before a motion passes that I at least get an opportunity to vote. Thank you.
You were given an opportunity to vote, Mary. Okay, we would ask Paul to continue with the Grove Tree Report and proposal for Zone 7.
Okay. Just a quick update. The tree crews are working through Zone 2 currently. From the past reports, we have notified the office of all these locations in advance. We've also pre-scheduled out Zones 3, 4, and we'll have schedules for Zones 5 and 6. So we will also notify the office in advance so that they have an idea where the crews are going to be as we're working through those zones, and the office can notify tenants. We walked Zone 7. We identified, I believe, 8 trees on this report, so it's going to be pretty short. We have 1 removal that we recommended. It's going to be the first item. It's a small cedar tree. This tree has sustained some damage during our past severe winter storms. And due to the location and how close it is to the home, it's also being outcompeted by larger trees in the area. So I don't believe that this tree is going to develop any further than it is. And since there's potential for root disturbance from being hit by other falling trees, we're going to recommend this tree for removal. Oh yeah, you can, if you want to scroll up, we can just look at it'd be the first figure. There it is, right there.
Okay, so that one, gotta take it out, has no room?
Yeah, I mean, it's being overcrowded, and again, it sustained some damage during a past failure during the winter storm. So I don't believe this tree is going to continue into a viable specimen. So we're recommending that tree's removal. Going on to the next figure, it's some codominant tops in neighboring redwood. We are going to remove the codominant tops in this tree to help reduce potential for that failure in a redwood. And on to our next figure. This is a dogwood, and it's just got a really heavy full canopy. So we want to do some canopy thinning and just clean this tree up. So we're recommending some pruning for this tree. While we were out here on site, if you scroll to the next picture, this is something that we noticed often on the zone walks, and it's supplemental watering outside of the Nepenthe's current irrigation system. So I know there's a lot of concern that everybody has when it gets really hot that the trees aren't getting enough water. The trees should have sufficient water through the current irrigation system. So there really shouldn't be any concern about providing additional water to the trees. In fact, additional water can do the opposite and actually create more stress for the tree. If trees are oversaturated, what will happen is the tree will then reverse osmosis and start expelling water from the tree. So that can further a decline pattern. So we have to be very cautious with the amount of water we give trees. Additionally, watering a tree this close to the trunk is only going to invite wood decay, and potentials for root and basal rot on the tree.
Was the homeowner notified to not do that?
We walked. I just took this picture just to bring this up.
Okay, and one more question.
Yeah.
So would bark help, or it doesn't matter?
So anytime where there's bare dirt and soil around the tree, what would be the best help for the irrigation system for Nepenthe and its trees would to have some sort of ground cover around the trees. Ground cover helps reduce the amount of evaporation, and will help keep soil moisture even during the hot months. So again, we want to avoid additional water. We definitely don't want to be watering near the base of the tree. Because again, that it's not providing the tree any sort of resource when the water's that close. All of the fibrous roots of the tree are out past the drip line. That's where the tree picks up its water benefit. So when we're watering trees right up next to the trunk, we're really only creating more issues for the tree. So I just wanted to bring that up because I know that sometimes watering and tree concerns, I know a lot of folks get concerned when it gets really hot. So our next item are a couple of locust trees. As you can see, got some really heavy canopies, all those bright green areas on the tips, that's all annual growth. So again, these trees are looking pretty healthy. We want to manage that canopy weight to prevent limb failure. And if we go to our next figure, it's a pear tree. This is out on the berm along the levee out there. Sometimes an area where we want to make sure that we're checking these trees out there. So again, we want to prune this tree for weight. Pear trees are notorious limb droppers. So we want to make sure that we're managing that canopy as well. And then our last two items are a couple of liquid amber trees along University. Again, with the liquid ambers, these are vigorous growers, so they're going to grow fast and put on a lot of canopy weight each year. So we want to make sure that we're managing that best to our ability. So we're recommending some weight reduction on both those trees. And that's the report.
Thank you, Paul. Are there any questions? Paula?
Yeah, this doesn't relate to the Zone 7, but I want to get back to your update and make sure I understood what you said in the beginning, since I don't have opportunity to contact you. There was an item on the Zone 4 report for a tree removal, that skinny one on 1004 Dunbarton, and I noticed that it's still there. So is that in the pool of items that you're saying that you're getting ready to go out and take care of?
Yeah, so where the crew's currently working through Zone 2, we should be starting Zone 3 in the next week or so. And again, we've given the office each and every tree location so that homeowners can be notified the day that the tree crew is going to be out for service.
Thanks a lot.
Excuse me. Several months ago, there was some question as to whether some redwoods on the border of Nepenthe and Campus Commons were our responsibility or not. Have you been given any indication as to whether they are ours or Campus Commons?
Hello. Okay. To answer your question, they are Nepenthe trees. The survey came back, and those are our 3 redwoods right there. The proposal was approved to trim these trees, and so Grove has it now, and they'll get it on their schedule to trim the trees. But they are our trees next to 2259 Swarthmore, those 3 redwoods. So they are Nepenthes. And I would like if we could tag them, just while I'm thinking about it now too. I don't know if we can number them and tag them so that we can track them for future maintenance, since they are our trees. That's it.
Could I have a motion to approve the growth work?
I'll make a motion to approve the zone tree work.
Any seconds? Okay, so at this point, I'll call for the question and ask for a vote. All in favor, please raise. Okay, so we have Paula, Jim, Teresa, Don, Jean, and Mary. I think you're still
Yes.
there. And your vote
Yes.
is? Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. So the motion passes. And now we're on to zone walks, zone walk notes. And we will start with any comments from Juan, which have already been made. But
Yeah, my notes are numerous but terse. Okay, so you've you've seen little versions of these photos at the beginning of this meeting, and they are all garage entrances at homes with an Adelphi address. And there are 14 of them altogether. So in this one, you can see that it lacks ground cover and that it needs a plant where there is already existing irrigation. I don't know how we'll work it, whether we would take care of the bark in the community-wide proposal and then just do the plants in my recommendations separately. But I don't know if we need to, do we need to make any decisions about that? Uh-oh, we lost the screen. All right. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to concern myself with the needs I saw and how they get attacked as far as which proposals it goes under, I think is somebody else's bailiwick.
I agree with your recommendations.
Okay, all right, next one, please. All right, this is between 12 and 14 Adelphi. I recommend that we remove the current plants because these are really old ones, and outside of these leaves, and they're up against the house. So just remove those plants, put maybe 2 plants to soften the lines of those utilities, and put bark.
Teresa, I'm not sure, they haven't done the siding in your area? Maybe we don't want to plant new plants until the siding is finished? I don't know. What do you think? Anybody else?
Well, if we,
Or would that be too long of a wait? Are you?
yeah, I think if we, I think we're going to be putting plants that will make it easy for painters and siders to get to their work without disturbing the plants.
Okay.
Would you agree with that, Oscar?
Paula, what do you?
Yeah, so basically just depending on the area, if that plant is just too close to the siding, so when we install a new one, it has to be separate at least 24 inches away from it.
Okay.
Okay, I have a process question. This is Paula. I see what you're doing and I understand it, but it seems like we're drifting into the proposal. You know, we say, oh, this work needs to be done. That's my understanding how it works. And then Carson comes back and, as you did in the stuff that we just did, where it is outlined exactly what is recommended, like, oh, 2 bushes, oh, pull that out. So are we telling them now what to put into their proposal?
I'm going to try to answer the question, and it's going to be from about 5,000 or 10,000 feet. But anything that we're doing here in terms of recommendations as we go through the zone rep notes is going to be particularly in those areas that are subject to the final phase of the siding project, landscape remediation, will be subject to their recommendation and exactly what they do. So that's going to be the final arbiter of a situation like this.
Okay, so step 1 is Teresa saying, oh, this needs bark. And maybe that bush needs to go because it's too close to the house. And we say, yes, we agree with Teresa. And then it gets referred to Carson. And then Oscar comes up with this proposal that says, how many pounds of bark and all this kind of, and be more specific about, oh, we're going to plant this XYZ type bush there.
That is their.
And that's step 2. right?
Correct. And that,
So we're going to see this again, is that what I'm saying?
that's what we just passed on today.
Oh,
And it'll
absolutely.
go up to the board,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
But also just remember that anything that we're recommending, such as removal of a current plant, if it's really one that is having a problem with the siding project, So everything we're recommending is subject to the final assessment of the Carson team in regards to, will it be consistent with the overall siding project
Well, the siding project is many years away on this street.
right now?
On Adelphi? No,
It's continuing.
no, I know, but we're the last group. It's 2 years, 27.
Well, then I defer, but again, we will be taking a look at
Mhm,
replacement
Mhm.
and then we would be putting it in consistent with.
mhm.
Okay, that's the only caveat I wanted to put on it.
Okay. I have another process question, and I'm really sorry to be
Please, no.
belaboring the point. Are we going to vote on these one by one or as a package? And let me tell you the reason why. I live at 14 Adelphi, so I would like to abstain on any item that refers to Adelphi. I mean, I support the overall idea and concept. I don't want to vote on anything that's happening at my address. So I'm going to abstain. So I need to know, do I abstain on the whole package or are we going to do them one by one? Okay,
And your reason for abstention is?
I live there. I don't want to vote on something that's, I understand that, but that's the way I feel and that's what I would like to do.
Okay. Your request will be recognized.
Thank you. I
No
appreciate it.
problem.
I certainly don't know about the process. I've never, we usually deal with one, maybe two, and this is going to be 14.
So I would say in reference to these Adelphi ones, we've crossed this bridge already in the beginning of the meeting where a bark replenishment evaluation will occur. So it feels like there's really no point to go through the Adelphi bark situation again. Maybe I'm hearing things differently, but it sounds like they're already going to go out and evaluate. So we're kind of crossing this bridge a second time already. Just my 2 cents.
Good point. And the second thing that I would say is that I'm inclined to take each steward's recommendations as a yes. And so if we have several requests or suggestions or recommendations made for zone one, I would prefer to vote as a package for zone one, subject to abstention request. And then it will have 7 incremental votes if you wish. That would be the way I would do it or prefer to do it rather than waiting for a summary vote on all 7 zones. And maybe there's an objection to one part of one recommendation in one zone. We take it incrementally.
I think last month we did a good job because a couple of them had already been pruned, already taken care of, or didn't need to be done. And then it was written in red, maybe by Teresa. So we voted as a whole for the agreed upon recommendation. So we kind of agree as we go along and then at the end.
Make
vote.
revisions as we go.
That's what we
And
did last
that
month.
everybody approves of.
I think that's what we did last month, yeah.
Yeah, that did, I believe that worked also.
Yes.
Okay, so just to make sure that I'm clear, at the end of mine, we'll say, I'll do a motion, blah, blah, blah. Okay, all right, continue. Most of these will go very, very quickly. That one's just an add bark. That one's an add bark and plus plants and that one has irrigation in it. I'm not sure on some of these whether there is proper irrigation unless I actually see that the irrigation has, I see wet spots. Oscar, do most of these areas or do all of the areas that are on the sides of garages have irrigation?
They're supposed to, but remember, those Netafim lines are also subject to fail. So like on those sections, like if you can see, those Netafims that are there, seems like the older sections are just being blocked. It's just no water around them. So I have to check it, turn it on, see what's going on, see the needs, and then go from there.
Okay, and then on this one, I recommended that the Nandina get pruned or removed because it's too close to the structure.
So, sorry, Teresa, so this would be an area that, like, for example, Mary brought up, do we want ground cover, bark, or plants? So this is one that's kind of iffy, right? You know, the little areas just need bark maybe, but when you visited this, what was your gut feeling? Does it need,
I think it would depend upon if we can use I think it's complicated. If we can use the irrigation that exists without a lot of expense, then I would say plant whatever can be planted and get good irrigation. And that might be bigger shrubs, I suppose. And my impression is that smaller ground cover, low-lying ground cover might need a different kind of irrigation, which would be more expense if we can actually use this irrigation. How's that, Oscar?
Correct. Basically, when you do some ground cover, the pattern of the netafim or the drip, depending on what you're going to put, it will change.
and another thing to consider is, what does that alley look like? What do other people have too? Do they have bark? Do they have nandinas or?
You'll get a feel for it because this is, you'll see the whole, well,
Okay.
all of the places that need attention.
Okay.
But it's bark. It's certainly not stone. And there is, it's shrubs, not low growing ground cover right now.
Okay. Oops.
Okay, 20 Adelphi.
Just one clarification on those areas. Some of them have downspots, so they're gonna require some rock. Otherwise, when it rains, all that bark is gonna go away because the pressure of the water going out from the downspout. So when I go and walk those areas, I just need to make sure that we take care, first of all, the downspots. And if needs rock, it has to be rock. And bark the other sections where there's no downspots around,
Okay.
or do ground cover either.
Yeah, I'm assuming when you do your proposal, you put your professional knowledge. Mine is a pretty ignorant recommendation. Okay, add bark, next one. Same thing. Yeah, you can see this is one of the very few that has stone. This is a shaded area, so I think the stone is okay. If it were getting full exposure from the sun and the parking lot is also very sunny, then I think it adds too much reflection. But in this case, this area is almost always in shade during the day. So I would keep the stone there, but put one, maybe two plants to soften that area and just make it. I don't know, but I'm assuming that Oscar looks into that before he remediates. Just add bark in this one. Yeah, there's irrigation there, or at least it's getting water, and it could use another plant. This one, we actually looked at this before, but I thought since it's on a slope, that you can see the ivy underneath that shrub, maybe extend the ivy to the driveway in just that part. And then behind it, we'll see another photo, under the tree, put bark. Yeah, there's the tree that's behind it. This one has a hedge that's hugging the structure, and then it's bare here, and we've got utilities. So probably we should remove the hedge now because it'll probably need to be removed for the siding and painting project anyway, and replace it with something that's acceptable. under the new guidelines. And then, yeah, and add bark. A moment of silence. Yeah, this plant does not look very healthy. If it can be pruned back into health, prune it, and if not, then replace it. And then add another plant to soften the lines of that utility. This is an example of one of the areas that is exposed to sun almost all of the time. And it's just a lot of hardscape, a lot of reflection. I recommend that we take the stone out, put bark in, add some kind, softer greenery, maybe to soften the lines of those utilities.
Sorry, Teresa.
Yep.
So go back to that one, Trayvon. So if we are watching expenses, we might say, well, the stone does meet standards. It's a very tiny space, so maybe we don't need to replace it. I'm just-
Okay, if we don't replace it, then I would at least put up some more greenery there, because that looks a little too utilitarian, in my opinion.
That's true. This was your big zone walk of the year, so I see that you're looking at everything. Okay.
That might be it. Yay.
So we would call for a question in regards to zone one. I move that we accept Stewart's recommendations. Do I have a second?
If that's appropriate.
Teresa.
I'm asking too many questions. So at this point, are we going to get proposals and then think about it, or?
The formal proposal would come through, just like with the proposals we voted on today.
Okay.
So we're recommending if we approve this, that then it would go into the proposal process at Carson and then would come back to us with a formal proposal.
Okay. I mean, most of it's bark. And then there are a couple of spots where she wants the plants moved, and I guess it's up to the board or back to us.
I would suggest that.
Because of the
Carson
siding
might-
project to think about that.
Well, I would suggest that we might start with Carson if they see something that is inappropriate or environmentally difficult, like that last little shrub in all the reflective stone. You know, they may make some recommendations. But again, zone one, all those who may be in favor, please say, I'm looking for, well, you seconded. Okay. So all those, please, that say yes or approve. Okay, we have Jean, Donald, Teresa, Jim, Paula, you abstaining. Mary?
Yes, I do have,
Okay.
well,
Okay, thank you. All right, we are on to zone two, which is a note from Diane that after lo these many years, there has been a manhole cover that has finally been leveled and is now, the site is available for landscaping remediation. And at this point, Diane has not been able to make a recommendation other than we need landscaping. So I would suggest, as the junior member of what was zone two, that we ask Oscar to make some recommendations regarding how to landscape that site, given the sun or shade, water availability, and whatever, and that would be included in your proposal that comes back to us next month.
Yeah, first of all, I just have to go by and walk it and see if we have around that metal plate, if we have some concrete, it will be not allow us to do any planting, so I just have to check it first. and
That's
see what's
subject to
going on.
your on-site. So again, quickly, I, I move to approve zone 2. I need a second. Paula will second. All right, call for the question. All those in favor? Yes?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you voted.
Just says need landscaping.
Yes. Yes. Okay, we have everybody around. Mary, are you good with that?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm sorry, Mary, I couldn't hear.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so we're good with that. We're on to zone 3, and there were a couple of homeowner requests that have been addressed to Mary, but she's not had a chance to review and make a recommendation. So we're going to hold those two requests.
Hold on, Jim. Hold on. I actually did talk to both homeowners because the requests were so specific for what they wanted, and I wanted their input on the plantings and things. And so I'm still coordinating with them.
That's fine, Mary, and we're
So
just
I
going to
actually
defer.
have contact. I
We're
just
just
wanted
going to
that clear.
defer. We're just going to defer until you've had a chance to finalize your recommendation, and hopefully we'll have it with pictures next month. Okay. And now we go to zone 4. Ms. Paula.
Okay. Thank you. Two of these were holdovers. And I didn't mean to write so much, but there was a lot going on and a lot of moving parts on this one on 1012 Dunbarton. And I guess I just have to preface my comments by saying this was just a giant miscommunication about what the person was actually requesting. And because what I understood that the person wanted was a tree and they wanted bushes, and that was in the work order, but I never saw the work order until I looked for it in the board packet. So the information that we started out with was not correct. And so the recommendations were going back and forth, but it came to this group last month, and I had recommended nothing because I thought the person wanted a tree. And it turned out he wanted some bushes because there were some bushes there that were removed, but then there was a question about whether there was irrigation there. But in the interim, we discovered after going up the line and asking Carson that there was existing irrigation there, and it was drip. It wasn't overhead sprinkler. I do believe Oscar did make a comment, and I didn't hear it very well because I was on Zoom last month, about concern of the siding project manager. I understand about the part not wanting trees between units, but I thought I heard him say something about bushes also. So I'm not clear on whether that's a policy or a recommendation, or even if he really said it, because I wasn't able to ask him. So then the homeowner has confirmed that the request is for a low-level planting of a Japanese maple type shrub. He wasn't asking for a Japanese maple tree, which was implied by the request that I received. And he basically wants the two that were removed replaced. And we don't know why they were removed. And so my recommendation after all this is that there be a placement or replacement of the two removed shrubs in the addition of two more shrubs for a total of 4, consistent in type and size and shape with the plant palette, hopefully considering the homeowner's desire for a Japanese maple type bush and Carson.
You also have something at.
Oh, do you want me to go through all of them?
I just have a question for Paula from that one we were just looking at. Trayvon, go back, please. Okay, so if you're walking down that alley or whatever, does this look awful or inconsistent with the other people's yards? Does it stand out to you?
The side yard?
Yes.
Yeah, it looks pretty bare. And Oscar made a really good point at the last meeting that there are in this second photo, you can see there are bushes kind of in the yard area, the grass area between that side yard and the walkway. However, there's still big gaps visually of that side yard, so.
Okay, I mean, because we
those
have
aren't-
a lot of these in Nepenthe, and some people just have a bush in the front that kind of blocks your view of that empty side, because you don't want to ever plant a tree where there's no
No.
sun.
Right.
So, I mean, to me, it looks pretty perfect compared to zone 5. That's why I'm questioning. But,
Well, it was
Excuse me?
deferred so that we could take another look at it. And that's when I discovered all this information that I wish I'd had in the beginning. But I'm, I guess, and that's going to be my recommendation, that as zone stewards, we really look at the work order as well as the piece of paper that is given to us, because there was a disconnect there. So, but the comment was made at the last meeting when I was recommending that we do nothing, that it looked kind of bare, and maybe we should investigate other options such as bushes, not a tree. And there were bushes there that were taken out. So he's asking that they get put back, which I think is a reasonable request. And I'm just suggesting that we add a couple more just to soften the look.
My question would be, yeah, no, it's not there. I guess, yeah, those 2 plants there, how big do they get when they're mature?
Yeah, but, okay, I'm going to get up and show you. And I mean, I can't believe we're spending all this time on this one, but
Yeah, that is.
those 2 are here to the left. And then there's a good 5 feet space, and then there's this. So
Now I
really,
recall.
it's a very clear view into that area.
Is there
Let
really?
me, let me just mention something so you guys also understand this. You see this box right here? It's wires all in this area. So that's why when we wanted to center that plant, we couldn't do it because it was marked with the A11, marking some wires going through this section. So we have to move it on the side in order for us to work that out. Otherwise, we will be damaging the cables in there.
I walked the site as part of the zone walk, and I agree with Paula that just one little tree in the back, or tree on the mind, one small bush in the back looks pretty lonely. That maybe 2 or whatever is recommended is a reasonable request, whether we're replacing bushes or whatever. That looks pretty sterile. Okay, I believe that, no,
Okay, did you want me to go to the next one, or did you want
Yeah.
to just take this one?
we might as well take them all, Paula.
Okay, well, the next one is one that was held over because it's at 100 Dunbarton on the west side of the Dunbarton Pool. And we saw it on our walk, Jim and Oscar, that day, and the siding work was still going on, and the agreement was pretty much to recommend that we should wait until after that's done, and then take a look at it and possibly do some raking out and cleaning up or whatever, because it's just not in the shape where you can decide right now what to do, or at that time, what to do with it. So I guess my question is, what is the siding piece done? I think it is. I walked it and it looked like it was done. So I guess we would proceed to asking Oscar to make a proposal for something to be done in that area. That would be my recommendation. And then I had a new observation that I saw on one of my recent zone walks. And this is at the south end of the alley adjacent to 112 and 114. It's kind of a little triangular piece. And there's a I guess, a transformer or one of those electrical boxes there, but it's very bare and spare, very similar to the kinds of properties that Teresa was identifying in the Adelphi area. So my simple recommendation is remediation of this site. There's another patch with one of those a few feet down in the 700 block of Dunbarton that was recently remediated and looks great. And this one is just a few feet away.
Just so you know, on that section where the electrical box is, we have that under the yellow zone that we want to start remediating. So there's going to be a couple of plants in there too with the bark already.
So you're saying that it's going to be remediated as
Yeah,
part
it's part of the yellow
site
area.
project? Okay. So do we leave this one here? Or how do we deal with that?
Subject to remediation from the siding project. So one and the same.
So it'll come back?
Well, we're going to recommend, and then it'll come back in the form of a proposal, I suppose.
Okay.
There's, no, not on siding. Okay. Let's get clarification from the expert.
So what Oscar was saying was that this is already part of a proposal that's been approved by the board that's already planning to be remediated. So this will not be included in any future proposal because it's already been included in a previous one.
Thank you.
Okay. So, but we can track it. Is there a way to track that?
As I mentioned on my report, it's going to be next week.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So then this one just goes away.
That's right. So we're going to call for a motion and a question and answer, and hopefully a positive vote for Paula's recommendations. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please. All the way around. Mary?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Yeah, we're closing in on it. We're on to zone 5 and Donald.
Yes, this is at 1269 Vanderbilt. The gentleman that lives there moved in about 2 years ago, and it seems like that the azaleas just died. I know Oscar looked at them a few days ago, and they definitely need a couple new azaleas planted there.
Yeah, they were
mean,
gorgeous azaleas there, so it's a big difference.
I have a question. And just, is this more of a contract item that should just go directly to contractor through general manager? Or is this a request? No. All right. Comes through us the way we've done it and then up the grapevine.
We see it every day because I live in the area. And when I walk my dog, I mean, it's just, and the guy has not said anything. I think one time I said, we're good. He did. He said, well, we'll take care of it. And he said, hey, no problem. And,
Okay.
So anyway, it's an eyesore.
Could I have a motion, please? Okay. Paula, Jean and Paula. Okay, you got it down? All right. All in favor, please, again. All around. Mary?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. And now we have a continuation for zone 7.
Okay, so, oops.
Okay, so on zone 7, we were a relatively big group. We had Paul Dubois and maybe Oscar, and Dawn was with me. And we noticed maybe about 5 areas that needed remediation. So let's look at the first one. Homeowner is requesting 2 plants on the right side of her gate. So I wonder if that was a different homeowner request from what we saw. Anyway, yeah, it looks bare there. The next one, there's a dead bush there, and then maybe if we do bark replenishment, we could put some bark in there. And then let's see the next one. Oh, yeah, is that the same address? 15? Yeah. Okay, so that's just another view. Area needs remediation, bark, and maybe replace that dead plant. Oh, no, that's 16. It's the same address. Okay. Keep going. Is that it? Oh, wow. Oscar, if you do look at this, I'm wondering if maybe on the other side of the garage.
It is on the other side where we have like two dead azaleas close to a tree on that side.
Yeah, so we're missing a picture of the other side. Okay.
Yeah, but I know which ones. they are.
16, 11, and 15. Okay, so it's 3 spots for zone 7. Other than that, zone 7 looks fantastic. What do you guys think?
And your recommendation is?
Okay, they want to see the first one again. I believe these need bark and the dead plants replaced. So this one says homeowner.
Can you name?
1461 University work order. So that looks like it was a homeowner request that I didn't know about. Okay, homeowners requesting 2 plants on the right side of the gate. If so, they'd have to be small and 18 inches from the siding. What do you guys think?
There's not much room there.
2 little small ones? Okay, that's a homeowner request. So we could get a proposal for that. Okay. 2 small plants.
My question is, from Oscar's perspective, can we put 2 plants in there that won't obstruct or interfere with what needs to be done with siding or painting?
Yes, we can. And just a little bit of information in there. They used to have the AC unit on the concrete plate. So they asked us to remove a couple of the plants so they can be able to move it. So now that it has been moved and it's not irrigation on the other side, we're going to have to re-irrigate that section and installing the 2 plants.
So Oscar, about how big is that? Is it small enough to just put gravel there or?
It's a pretty good size. I mean, we can put 1 or 2 plants depending on what
okay.
type of it is.
Okay. Okay, so 1593 and 1611 are next to each other. And Oscar said, I have a photo missing. So on either side, it needs bark and a dead plant replaced. You guys agree?
Okay, need a motion. Jean, okay, and Jean seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand. Mary, how you doing? Mary? Okay, all right. That's a unanimous. So we are finished with zone walks. At this point, homeowners are invited to offer comments and thank you for your patience. Who wishes to go? Please give us your name and your address. Please step to the mic.
Oh, Lynn Goldsmith, 2243 Swarthmore. Is that on? Is it a green light on? I'm not experienced with this. Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, 2243 Swarthmore. I'm in the cul-de-sac. In the front, there's exposed pipes. And I've been watching to see what you guys are gonna do there to cover that up. So anyway, that's one thing I wanted to report. And that's pretty much it. just exposed pipes and it's bare dirt. Except for the nice landscaping.
I guess we'll ask Nicole, would it be best served if we had a formal request through the normal channel? Okay,
Oh, I'm really surprised they didn't see it. Okay, so the other thing is there used to be bark there. No longer.
okay, so now what we're going to do, or what we're going to recommend, is that on the wall over here, there will be a work request. And that gets to Nicole.
I can do that. There's
Thank
no
you.
hurry.
All right, but that's what,
Wait for a while.
the important thing is though, what that does is it sets a formal file in motion
Okay,
with a number and a date. And then that comes out from GM to contractor who's responsible for on-site evaluation and report back. If we just do it verbally, you know the old story.
okay,
Great.
okay. Because
Thank you
there's some
very
dead
much.
plants there that could be taken out.
Okay. Hi, please join us.
Hi, I'm Ann Pasek and I live at 2326 Swarthmore. And just wanted to do a very brief follow-up to the topic of tree branches, distance to the top of chimneys for fire safety. Last month, I took it upon myself to walk through each of the walkways and alleyways in each of the zones. My children like me to walk an hour every day anyway, so they were thrilled with this opportunity of mine. And I put together a list, a one-page list of chimney situations that I thought would be worth taking a look at informally by each of the zone stewards. I initially did what you were just describing about filling out a service request, and I had the list, and I walked it to the office and was told, oh, that would cost additional money for the committee. So I thought, well,
I'm going to step right in here. I don't, at this point, would object, or would disagree with that response from staff.
okay,
Okay?
Okay.
Number one.
okay. Jay did.
Well, at this point,
In
well,
any event, water over the dam, I made copies of the list for each of the stewards. I have it listed by zone to make it as easy as possible. And I thought, well, since the zone stewards do walkthroughs anyway, they could just quickly glance up and decide, does that look like a 10-foot clearance or not? You know, and let them decide, and that takes care of it. So just instruct me which way you would like me to go. I can either just leave these with you, or I can go the other route. I just want to do what's correct. Or what will work.
what will work is the key here. I don't think it would hurt to leave a list with us the way you've prepared it. We'll compare notes with what Nicole's team has, and then we'll find a way to respond in some reasonable fashion.
I just want to.
No, we do too. No.
I figured, well, my kids would be really thrilled that I did all that legwork.
You bet.
So
All right.
I can leave these with
Nicole,
you.
did you wish to respond, or are you in agreement?
The committees have fun, so I don't know what that's even referring to. But there was no way that our staff would ever say that. So I just want to put that out there, that if you give us a recommendation, we just take it and forth.
Okay, well,
We don't have to follow the steps, so to speak.
yeah, I know.
We just follow the process. So I know Jay very well, and I just can't think of any world where she would have said
Yeah,
this.
it was the Wednesday before
It's-
last day, and I don't know. I'm not an office person.
Assess what's going on, contact me directly, and then you and I can work on it.
Okay.
If there's ever any issues, if anybody ever has an issue, just
Okay.
contact me.
Okay, well, I can leave these. here.
My understanding from what Paul said several meetings ago is that if you see are concerned about some specific issues, and it sounds like you've done your homework and made it very neat. You have a page there that you can give it to Paul and they will take care of it with, for no extra cost to the association. Is that correct?
Not quite.
Then I misunderstood.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So what she did initially was correct. So filling out a service request, following that process, having the zone stewards evaluate and then give the recommendation, just like you're doing. You provide that recommendation. Paul gives a proposal based off the committee's recommendations and what they want to do. And we follow the same process that the grounds does for everything else. So what you did in the beginning was absolutely correct to file a service request. But what we can do is I'll take one of those pieces of paper. I will file a service request on your behalf, and then the committee will take it from there and we'll
Got it.
evaluate.
Thanks for
Can I have a copy?
hanging in.
Okay, thanks very much.
You bet.
2326.
I apologize for my poor explanation.
I now have company. Hi, Carol, please step. Name and serial number.
Carol Duke, Dunbarton. So I've noticed, and this was touched on earlier in the meeting, I've noticed the last 4 weeks that the shrubs in my area through 30, 40 homes that I watched each time have been trimmed with a machine 3 times, including this morning. There was no detail work for the hour I was watching each time through those many homes. It was all machine trimming every 2 weeks, 3 times in a 4-week period. So I know a neighbor of mine asked on the second go around, one of the people doing the work, why they were trimming again just 2 weeks later. And that person said, because they didn't have anything else to do. Now, that may have been correct or it may not have been, but it's just part of my comment here. So, so then my thought was that whether they had other things to do or not, perhaps it would be a good idea to recommend to our board and to our management that maybe we need to take another look at the contract details and the scope of work to see if there is something that we're not noticing about the numbers of people that we have all year long that maybe aren't fully subscribed.
Carol,
Or maybe,
I don't mean to interrupt you,
I'm
but
sorry,
that's,
you are interrupting and I
I
have
am,
the
and I'm
floor.
telling you as chair, I would invite you to formally draft a letter and send it directly to the board.
Thank you.
You're
As I
welcome.
was saying, so
That's it.
again, my thought is that there are some discrepancies here that maybe because we're paying $104,000 a month for mow and blow, $48,800 for just the mowing and the blowing, and another 54 or
Carol,
56,000.
I really want it to be productive. And so I want to give you your time and I don't want to interrupt you. So this breaks my heart. I'm so sorry. But at the same time, do you have a specific issue with your landscape? Because I don't want it to be just a
I
critique
do.
on.
I'm
okay.
wondering why 3 times in a 4-week period, we have had not detail work, but trimming of the shrubs with the machines. That's not a question to you.
I understand that. It's a question you're offering an open-ended question. And at this point, it's in the record. And if you wish to have us inquire from Carson about their normal
I'm
business
waiting
practice,
for a response from Oscar.
I'm going to ask Oscar not to respond, actually.
Okay,
that's right.
that's fine.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. John, please join.
Hello out there. Don. Don Lancettle, Dunbarton Circle. Got a couple of items. One with the regard to the bark cover and making it a ongoing thing. I would think that you would need to ask Carson for some input into that consideration because the bark gets blown away and it gets blown away at different intervals or different rates in different places. And it gets blown away year round, not just during leaf blowing, but as they're doing their weekly blowing, they're blowing bark away. So if the bark is in an area that's protected, maybe it doesn't get blown away so fast. If it's in an open area, it gets blown away faster, therefore requiring more frequent addition of bark. While you had a lot to say about Dunbarton 1012. Well, I've got something else to say about Dunbarton 1012. At one point, historically, the grounds committee, and I don't remember how official it was, had agreed that at the end of alleyways where there was open windows for homes, that large bushes would be planted and maintained. When the bushes were tore out for the remediation, they were tore out not because of the siding work, because there was no siding around the end of that alleyway. But now the lights shine into the front room of 1012. And if you go to that alleyway and look, the big bushes along the side of that alleyway were not torn out. I realize that was some architectural grounds issues, but I'd like to suggest that that be considered in the future at the ends of alleyways. If there are big bushes there now, leave them there so they don't, so headlights don't shine into areas. There's been questions about landscape architecture, that's what I'll call it. And why don't we hire a landscape architecture to provide additional information? Historically, and I haven't been involved for 4 or 5 years now, but historically, the contract included a requirement that the contractor have on staff or provide that architect, that landscape architect. So perhaps someone would review that contract to see if that clause is still there. And if it is, then go back to Carson. Or if it's not, then go on with the request that's been made to look into having a landscape architect do more. Also, today there was a question that was brought up about standards and what are the standards that are being followed. And I was involved, but I was fading out at the time that Carson came on board. And there was a position put forth primarily by Frank Carson. In answering questions, I interpreted his answers as to be, trust me. And I wasn't the only one that interpreted his comments in that way. Also, I think I'm noticing a change in the use of the rocks that are placed a foot or so alongside of the homes and the walls and stuff. Has there been a change in the use of those rocks along the walls? Are the fewer rocks being placed still underneath the downspouts, but not other places? So question there. Thank you.
Yes, please.
I'm Maureen White, and I'm at 1411 Commons. And thank you very much, Don. What you said was very insightful. I too have a question about the rocks. My home, the siding has just been completed, and the plants are, I think, are going to start next week, right, Oscar? Around 1411 in that area. And I did ask about the rocks because the rocks now, I've been told, are not going to go around the perimeters anymore. And that was a board decision. Is that correct? And they're only going to go where the downspouts are. So basically, if you have ground cover now, it's going to go all the way up to the site. And I've noticed that that's starting to happen. Can you answer my question? I've noticed that.
I'm in every board meeting, obviously, and I have never heard that they're not going to put rocks against siding anymore.
Well, you just have to go look.
I know, I'm just telling you, there's not a new policy is my answer.
Well, I was told by one of the workers, but has something changed that there isn't rock going around the perimeters anymore? Is something changed? One of your workers, because I asked him, now, in all fairness to you, Oscar, I asked one of the workers, okay? And because he was starting to look around, and I said, well, what about here, the rock here? And he said, no, we can't do that anymore. It's only going to go around out here, rocks, and then the rest is just all ground cover up to the siding of the home. And I looked and I saw that happening. Now, maybe
I don't know who you spoke to, but that's not accurate information. So
Then
I
what-
can tell you there's no change in policy. There's no hard line of no rocks against siding. He's not going to answer it, which is why I'm answering it. So
you need to go look. You need to go look and see what's happening.
yeah, I understand your concerns,
don't
but it's
want
not,
ground
your
cover
question,
In my house, period.
your question was there a change in policy? And I just wanted to answer that. And no, there has not been a change in policy. Rocks are still being looked at against siding, under downspouts, where applicable. So to answer your question, no, there's not a hard line of no rocks against siding anymore.
All right.
So I don't know who gave you that information, but that was
No,
not
well,
accurate.
then let's not talk about who gave me the information.
I'm
But
just
I
telling you it's not
know-
accurate is all I'm saying.
Okay. I'm noticing a big difference
Yeah.
in what's going on now on Dumbarton versus what was going on before. And so the new stuff that's coming in now on Dumbarton in the area around the pool, that area right there, the only time you see rock now is just around the downspouts. And the rest of it is just going up against the homes. I mean, you've always had bark go up against the fences. Now you have bark going up against the homes. So there's something going on that's different. And I'm also concerned that you're dealing with so much bark now. That's all you talk about is bark, 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 bark. Everything is about, let's just use bark, and what people need to understand is that bark can cause fires, or even somebody just coming by your home and with a lit match, and all that stuff is going to go up. I think you should look at other things besides bark as the grounds committee. That's all. There's other things that we can put and not just bark, because as Don said, and I have noticed, the bark that goes in 6 months later, it looks pretty bad. It looks very, very bad. As a matter of fact, just anecdotally, we just saw bark come in, and there was one of the grounds guys that was putting it in, and my neighbor said, more bark? And he says, yeah, but it'll all be gone with the first rain. So what is the point? Why are we spending this kind of money? We shouldn't be as an association, especially if we can find other ways of doing things that could even be nicer. That's all. Thank you.
Please, John.
Don Lancettle again. I did forget to say one thing I wanted to. It's been at least 6+ months since I've been looking at or listening to. And thank you, because it sounds like the process is working as far as zone stewards' recommendations, going to the board, coming back to Oscar, back and forth. It takes time, but it sounds and it looks like that process is working. So thank you.
Thank you, Don. With that, and well-spoken men's concerns, we all live here. We all wish the best. Yes. I'm sorry, but I just wanted to say thank you. Right. We can, and that comment has been noted. Okay. With that, the meeting is adjourned. And if Mary is still on, Mary, I'm going to leave a copy of the handout materials with Nicole's office for you to pick up upon your return. Thank you, folks.